Hey Lunatics, what's up? It's the Silent Reviews here, coming at you guys with my Monday Night Raw review for the April 29th, 2019 edition. We're only less than 3 weeks away from Money in the Bank, actually 2, but we're getting closer. And we just found out on this show the Raw participants for the men's and women's Money in the Bank ladder match. So right away, we're going to start with Alexa Bliss, and she kicked off the show. Rainy, don't you dare. She's trying to scratch the floor again. So Bliss kicked off the show announcing that the first 4 men to be introduced into the men's Money in the Bank ladder match are Braun Strowman, Ricochet, Baron Corbin, and Drew McIntyre. Now, I'm okay with this being the first 4, except Corbin. I don't understand why Corbin is in this match. I don't understand why they couldn't put fucking Cesaro or a Cedric Alexander. Somebody, you know? I don't understand why Corbin always has to take the damn spotlight. It's ridiculous. But pretty much we just got like a hype for this Money in the Bank ladder match. And we got a tag team match with all 4 guys. So it was Braun Strowman teaming with Ricochet against McIntyre and Corbin. And this one was a fun little tag match to kick off the show. But you know, McIntyre and Corbin just couldn't get along, and McIntyre ended up walking out on Baron Corbin. Therefore, Ricochet and Braun Strowman took advantage. Braun hit the power slam, the running power slam, and Ricochet finished off with not a 630, but a beautiful shooting star press, and they pick up the win. Now, it was long and dull to start, but the match that followed made up for it in the end. The 4 men announced to the men's ladder match makes sense, especially McIntyre, who's the odds-on favorite right now to win. Ricochet should do some incredible things in the ladder match, even if his inclusion in the match makes the least sense without him earning the opportunity. It will be fascinating to watch what he can do with a ladder, especially against a field of heavyweights. Now, we know Ricochet could do it in a ladder-type match, because if you remember, when he made his debut in NXT, he competed in a ladder match for the NXT North American Championship with the likes of Adam Cole, Velveteen Dream, Lars Sullivan, Killian Dane, EC3, you know, guys like that. So we know what Ricochet can do as far as ladder matches go. So I'm very, very excited that Ricochet is getting this opportunity ahead of him. The Usos versus Luke Gallows and Karl Anderson. Yes, you heard me right. The club is back on Monday Night Raw. No explanation whatsoever. There was no tweets. There was no announcement. They just randomly decided to show up. I guess the Superstar Shakeup is still going after fucking 3 weeks, but okay. So the club is back on Raw, and it looks like we could be seeing them reunite with AJ in the near future. More on that later. So before the match started, Gallows and Anderson talked up their fresh start on Raw in a pre-taped interview. They fought hard against the Usos, but the Good Brothers were no match in the end for the multi-time tag champs. Gallows went down for a super kick and a splash for the loss. Afterwards, Jimmy and Jey Uso made fun of the Revival, showing a video where Dash Wilder helped shave the back of Scott Dawson, which was pretty embarrassing. And the Revival promised to make the Usos pay later after they would defeat the Raw Tag Team Champions Hawkins and Ryder. You know, it was a good match, and it helped remind the fans that Gallows and Anderson could be an important part of the tag team division if they wanted to. It was weird to announce 2 weeks after the Superstar Shakeup that the Good Brothers would switch brands, but then again, WWE has been playing it loose with the brand swaps. Embarrassingly, low bro humor let down the whole segment. There was nothing to the Usos making fun of Dawson and Wilder beyond a thinly veiled homophobic joke. If this is what WWE has planned for pairing the two best tag teams in the company right now, then WWE may manage to mess this all up in the end, which I hope that doesn't happen, because we all know what the Usos can do. We all know what the Revival can do. They're 2 of the best tag teams they have out there in WWE at the moment, especially the Usos. So I'm very much looking forward to this feud, and I can't wait for the match. Miz TV with Bobby Lashley. Miz came out, had his first Miz TV back on Monday Night Raw in over 2 years, I don't know. And he had his first Miz TV, and he chose Bobby Lashley. Very, very bizarre guess, but okay. So he hosted the Bobby Lashley on Miz TV with the Almighty, taking offense to the A-lister, saying that he had been wasting his potential. Lashley talked down Miz and his father till the most must-see WWE superstar snapped and attacked the big man. In an impromptu match, Miz dominated Lashley until Shane McMahon arrived to make sure the A-lister was distracted just enough to allow the Almighty to connect with a spear for the win. No Lio Rush. Lio Rush was not advertised for Raw. He was not in Bobby Lashley's corner. So more on that later on. It appears to be having some backstage heat again. And I think it has to do with Finn Balor. But seems like we're not going to be seeing Lio Rush on Monday Night Raw anytime soon. I don't understand what the issue is, but that's just what's been going on with him. Shane O'Mac taunted Miz with the help of Lashley before pounding on the former WWE champion with right hands and then locking in a triangle choke. And I don't know what it is with Shane, man, but the guy never learned how to punch properly. He has the most awkward punches I've ever seen. It's ridiculous. And then he just put Miz in a freaking chokehold, some sort, triangle-esque move. And backstage, Miz challenged the Boy Wonder to a steel cage match at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which Shane then accepted. So we're now getting a steel cage match with these two, because we knew the feud was going to continue, being that, you know, they had the Falls Count Anywhere match at WrestleMania, and it was a great match. We all knew it would be. But it wasn't what Miz wanted, as Shane was the one that won at the last second. And, you know, Miz wanted retribution, because Shane is still targeting Miz's father for some odd reason. So now these two are fighting inside of a steel cage at Money in the Bank, where the Miz will probably win this time. The Viking Raiders versus the Lucha House Party. They made a pre-tape warning to all the tag teams on Raw, only to have the Lucha House Party ambush them on their way to the ring. It was not enough to even slow Eric and Ivar down, who planted Kalisto with the Viking experience to take the win. Afterwards, Lince Dorado tried to stand up for his friends, but took a bear hug into a springboard clothesline for his efforts. This was a fine showcase of the big man in quick, dominant fashion, even if it was unnecessary to make Lucha House Party look so completely outmatched. Kalisto, Dorado, and Metalik are too talented to be so thoroughly squashed. Perhaps the trio's time will come, but it may be best assured for the group just to work 205 Live from here on out. This was the type of loss that does not get easily forgotten. A Moment of Bliss announces the Women's Money in the Bank match. And then we get an impromptu match as well. So Alexa Bliss comes back out, this time to announce the women's participants in the Money in the Bank ladder match for Raw. And it was Natalya, Dana Brooke, Naomi, and herself, Alexa Bliss. In the second edition of Moment of Bliss, same night, the Goddess announced Natalya, Dana Brooke, and Naomi would be in the women's ladder match alongside her. Naomi then challenged Bliss to a match with the multi-champion cautiously accepted. Bliss struggled to fight in shoes that were not made for wrestling, but she used every tactic in the book to attempt to steal the win. However, when Bliss's shoes fell off, she was distracted enough to run into the rear view in a split-legged moonsault, and Naomi picks up the win. And yes, Bliss was wrestling in tight-ass leather pants, which was very, very nice. Like that one South Park episode, they're just like, nice. Yeah, that was just nice to see. Okay. You know, it was an odd match to put on. Bliss intentionally got into a fight when she was at a serious disadvantage, which made the entire match a mess since she had to keep tying her shoes. And she stated that those weren't even her shoes. She was borrowing them from somebody, and they just kept getting untied. So she tried to fix her laces like every 5 seconds, or every time she tried to did a move on Naomi, she would just go up and fix her shoelaces. And it cost her the match because like she just couldn't handle herself there. But neither woman really got to show off here. The women's lineup for the Money in the Bank match shows off the division's lack of depth. While it is nice to see WWE giving Dana a chance, she's hardly in the top half of the women's division. It also feels wrong that Ruby Riott will not be in that 4th spot. It's very, very odd they would choose Dana Brooke over somebody like Ruby Riott. Or why couldn't they have Alexa not be in the match? No offense, but Ruby Riott take her place instead. You know, like I'm very, very like curious to see why they did not include Ruby Riott in this stake here. Hopefully we get some explanation down the road. This whole idea is as bizarre as the WWE gets, but it's certainly entertaining so far, showing off some of the writers' most creative writing. It was a fascinating mix of the whimsical and the darkly comics. What am I talking about here? Oh yeah, Firefly Funhouse. Episode 2, Bray Wyatt is now apparently painting some sort of painting or whatever, and it looks to appear to be the Wyatt family compound with Sister Abigail in the window, and it looks like the doll that you see as well. In the second edition of Firefly Funhouse, Bray Wyatt showed off his painting skills to a rambling rabbit, creating a scene of a burning house. Abby the Witch then interrupted him before going back to sleep. Wyatt used her as an example for his word of the day, sociopath, and then he spelled it out on the screen like he was in the spelling bee. It just gets... It's starting to come into full tuition here that this Firefly Funhouse thing for Bray Wyatt, it's working. You know, when I first saw it, I was just like, what the hell is this? What are they doing with Bray Wyatt? But now it's starting to make sense to me because they're trying to turn him into a demonic character of some sort, I guess. And it appears to be working. So hopefully they don't fuck this up down the road because this is such a great gimmick so far. And I'm hoping that they don't do anything to ruin it right away. And it looks like it's just going to get more and more darker each time we see another episode air of the Firefly Funhouse on Raw. And I don't know how long they're gonna keep doing this for, or they're just gonna do episode after episode after episode until we eventually see Bray back in the ring, on the mic, or just in a match, or just something, you know, instead of just seeing him backstage in these pre-taped Firefly Funhouse episodes. But you know, it's gonna be very interesting to see. Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans are done talking. Charlie Caruso interviewed Lynch on her decision to defend both her titles at Money in the Bank. She said that she refused to stand back and just protect what she had, wanting to fight at any time. Caruso then showed a video of what Lacey did last week, and the man called out the lady. They got into a wild brawl with the officials having to get involved to separate them. While the Irish ass kicker stood angrily on the apron, Lacey Evans retreated up the ramp, stopped by officials for fighting anymore. This is about the most personal and heated rivalry this has ever gotten so far. Words were exchanged without either woman having to speak for too long or getting saddled with bad dialogue. The fighting spoke volumes with both women looking competitive here. A good brawl is always a great way to sell rivalry and is now far more easier to invest in what comes next for these two. If Lacey can make the most out of it with the spotlight with more strong segments like this, then she might just prove to herself that she's worthy of a large role on Monday Night Raw. Again, Lacey Evans is challenging Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship at Money in the Bank. I would not be surprised if Lacey takes the title for Becky, because knowing WWE, whenever they have a certain individual hold two titles at the same time, they always just like to take one title off right away, and I don't understand why. I never understood that. Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, the Raw Tag Team Champions, versus the Revival in a non-title match here. Distracted by their earlier interaction with the Usos, the Revival looked angry and unruly in their domination of the Tag Team Champions. This allowed Zack Ryder to sneak into a backslide and take the victory. These teams have had a few quality matches together, but this was just a waste of both teams with the audience and the commentators' focus on the back shaving. There was even a chant from Kentucky of "shave your back." Now, if Dawson and Wilder weren't already thinking about leaving, they're likely considering it now. So there's that. Sami Zayn refuses to let the WWE Universe off the hook. Zayn talked to the Universe about his psychological entitlement. He wanted to make it clear he was enjoying holding the fans accountable too much that he would quit the WWE. He promised to come out every week and tell everyone in attendance about the terrible people that they had become. And now, each and every week, we're just seeing Zayn hit promo after promo after promo after promo. Since he's been back, the only match he's had is against Finn Balor before Finn got moved to SmackDown Live. Zayn had one match, and that was against Finn. Since then, he's just been coming on the mic each and every week, just taunting the fans, and it's just fucking great. We all know what Zayn could do on the mic. He's one of the best on the mic to this very day, along with Kevin Owens and others, and Bray Wyatt. Zayn has nailed these promos to the fans, adding a fresh spin to each. His take on WWE and the fans is not entirely unique, but his angle makes him stand out from the pack of heels who primarily seem to focus on just pulling out easy heat. Now, he's found the right balance to make the crowd hate him for so long, but also hang on to every word he says. It's too bad they will likely be all for nothing when he starts wrestling again and loses, but this is the best work of his career so far. Then we get a WrestleMania rematch with Samoa Joe and Rey Mysterio. This was the main event of the night, match-wise, and this was definitely a lot better than the WrestleMania match because, this didn't last a minute, and Rey actually threw in some offense here, so this was good. Backstage, Rey Mysterio's son, Dominic, talked about how much he respected his father. In the ring before the match, Joe taunted the father and son by saying that Mysterio's terrible showing in WrestleMania clearly embarrassed Dominic. The Master of the 619 struggled against the onslaught of the United States Champion, but he refused to stay down. After the Samoan submission specialist blocked the 619, he landed a beautiful Uranagi out of the corner and then set up a second one, only for the luchador to reverse into a crucifix pick for the win. Mysterio and his son celebrated on top of the ramp as Joe looked on in disbelief. This was a surprisingly sloppy showing from two veterans. They didn't quite find their stride here before a result that just feels like the same story repeating itself over and over again. But Joe can win in dominant fashion with his title on the line. He always has to get rolled up the next week, which makes no sense. I don't understand that at all. The 50-50 booking will never make Joe feel like a legitimate monster at a time when he desperately needs that spotlight. The United States Champion is not a big enough title for Joe to coast off holding it. AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. They signed the contract for their official Universal title match at Money in the Bank. Michael Cole hosted the contract signing between Rollins and Styles. The Phenomenal One talked about what he had done on SmackDown Live and his ambitions for Monday Night Raw. The Architects responded by talking about this being his brand. Monday Night Rollins. Styles questioned if Rollins, without his brothers and worn down from his fight with Brock Lesnar, would be able to stand up to the stamina of the face that runs the place. After the WWE Universal Champion refused to shake his challenger's hand, Styles would then attack him, and the ensuing brawl ensues. The Phenomenal One blasted the Beast Slayer phenomenal forearm through the announce table, and Styles stands tall to end Raw. Now, this was a good enough segment between two popular stars. Neither Styles nor Rollins is a great mic worker, but they were good enough to make this matter. Both men got in their best barbs here without going over the top. It was odd to see the two get aggressive in this early in the rivalry, but it all at least added some tension to the feud. In the next 2 weeks, though, hopefully something more will be done to make this about more than two athletic wrestlers wanting the same title. And that's pretty much it for the Raw review, guys. I mean, not much happened. If I could just go back and just see the important things that took place, I guess it would have to be, the Money in the Bank participants being announced for Raw, and then, what else here? The Firefly Funhouse as well, and then Styles Styles and Rollins contract signing for the Universal title. So, I apologize if this is a short Raw review. I know this is probably one of the shortest ones I've ever done in a while, but there really wasn't much to talk about in this review. Honestly, not much happened. So it was just an okay version of Raw. Nothing too great. It got the job done, and we're just getting closer to Money in the Bank in the time being. So, yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, favorite, RKO the like button out of nowhere. Tap the bell for notifications so you get all my future uploads. And I will be back shortly with my SmackDown Live review. So until then, I will see you all in the next one. Too sweet.